There's certain moments that define us and save the trajectory of our lives. As we wrap up our series today, we're believing that today is one of those moments. Let's do this. What's up, Epic Online fam? If we haven't met, my name is Emily and I'm the pastor for Epic Online, and welcome to Epic Everywhere, practical teaching to help you grow in your faith no matter where you're at on your spiritual journey. Well, a special shout out to anyone who's hanging out with us for the first time today. Be sure to stick around because at the end of today's episode, I've got a gift that I want to hook you up with. Well, today is going to be a great day, and every time that you're hanging out with us, we invite you to text in. When you text in, you'll get access to our Next Steps Hub, which has everything that you'll need to stay connected today and also throughout the week. To text in, it's super easy. You can go ahead and use the QR code right here, or you can go ahead and text here to 215-999-8575. And when you text us, we'll text you right back, and that'll give you a link to access the hub. Up on the hub, you'll see a spot where you can share a prayer request, a life update, or any reactions to the message and service today. We really do read through your prayer requests, and we want the opportunity to pray for you, so let us know. The hub also has some important links that you'll need for today because it's Commitment Sunday. You came on a great day because today is the final week of a series that we've been in called All In. And so during our message, our lead pastor, Kent, is going to be leading us through a time of commitment for all of us. Whether you've been here for 3 weeks or 3 years, we all have a step that we can take. And so today, we're going to be taking a step to be all in together. As part of this series, we've been taking time to hear the stories of people in our church who are making a commitment to be all in. And this week, we get to hear from Nakeiha. So let's go ahead and check out her story, and then we'll get to today's message.
My name is Nakeiha. I have been going to Epic ever since 2019, and I initially started going to Epic because I was looking for a church that allowed a little bit more freedom of expression, for me to ask questions, for my kids to really get involved and be, catered to in that way. No more sit down and be quiet and just kind of listen to the sermon. And a friend of mine had recommended going to Epic. I want to say maybe 100 days after I started going to Epic, I faced probably the most devastating storm of my life that included the ending of a marriage, a very traumatic experience. And I think the most important thing that I think God did at that time for me was not keep me isolated. I remember when I was, faced with this divorce and this traumatic experience, Justin, the KOP location director, he walked with me. It was really easy at that time for me to sit in my house, close the blinds, and just say, forget it. I was very disconnected, and I needed a lot of reassurance that things were going to be okay. And one of the ways that I think God helped me in that time was by allowing me to serve. And Epic created a space for me to do that without any questions. And I think God met me in that space. It has been a light for me. I have made really good friends, and more importantly, I know that I'm doing something that really edifies families and makes them feel safe, like I needed to feel safe at that time. I think my faith has transformed in a way that it is so unshakable, it is so unmovable, and I'm grateful for that because there's a freedom that comes in that space that I've never experienced before. I'm grateful that I don't have to do life by myself. I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that even if I don't know what the next step is, all I gotta do is just take the next step and God will meet me there. This all in, I see the fruits of it when I walk down the street. I see the fruits of it when I look at the kids at Kids Check-In. I see the fruits of it when we go into certain communities and provide food or listening ears or counseling services. That's part of the reason why I serve. It's part of the reason why I give monetarily. It's part of the reason why if anybody at KOP or at Epic says, Nakeiha, can you? I'm always gonna say yes. When you give generously, when you involve yourself wholeheartedly, it comes back 100-fold, over and over and over and over and over again. And that's a promise that God gives all of us. Open your heart, open your mind, open your gifting, and God will use it not only to help others, but to make you better too. And that's why I'm all in.
Hey everybody, my name's Kent. I'm lead pastor here at Epic, and I'm so glad you joined church with us today. We're actually landing the plane on a series we've been in called All In. And for the past several weeks, we've been challenging our church to go all in with their faith, to be totally committed to God. In fact, I was talking to somebody, and they said, hey, listen, Kent, I've been listening to you speak for like 12 years. And they started that way. I was like, oh boy, I don't know where this is headed. This could be good. This probably isn't going to be good. Anyways, he went on, he said this, he says, but there's something different about this series. See, what I hear you saying is that it's time to grow up. And I was like, yeah, I think that is some of what we're saying. He said, when I first started coming here, you were the old guy. Like you had a wife and kids, the whole family, the whole thing. He says, but now I'm married and now I've got kids. Like somehow I caught up. I don't know how that happened. And I think what he was sensing was just God's nudge, just saying, hey, listen, it's time. And I hope you've been sensing that too. It's time. It really is. This past week, we got some leaders from our church together to pray and worship and talk about going first and leading the way for the rest of our church when it comes to being all in, when it comes to saying, God, all that I am, it's all for you. And so we got a little video together. I wanted you to see what some of them had to say. Check this out. For the last little bit, we've challenged our church to go all in. We said, hey, we don't want to settle when it comes to our faith. We want to be people that live our lives totally devoted to God because we want to reach our full potential. As individuals, we want to reach our full potential. And as a church, we want to reach our full potential. And so all in these last several weeks, as we kind of kicked off the series, it's more than just a series. It's been the beginning of what is going to be a 2-year growth journey that we're going to be on together, where we're going all in for God in every area of our lives.
It's easy to trust God when things are going really well. It's really hard to step out of the boat and try to walk on water with Him when things are really challenging and things are dynamic and you don't know what's happening.
One thing I've noticed is that I trust God in some aspects, but don't trust in others. So, like my finances, I trust them 100%. My personal relationships in life, not so much because I'm still 60 and single.
It has been challenging. The matter of the sacrifice and what that really means, and just really tapping into those thoughts and really digging into myself and praying about, Lord, what does that look like for me and my family?
So that's been a part of this that has really pushed me to say, God, I really have to trust you and dive all in.
So, it's just all those, trying to balance and acknowledge that although I want things in my time is not always God's time.
The challenge to give 100% of everything, but that's what we're being called to do. So I'm walking by faith and trying to get there.
I am all in because it matters. I'm all in because God is all in for me.
Because there's no other way.
When you're a child of God, that's the only way to be.
All in to see what God has for us and know that it's going to be the best.
You know where it starts? Here. Like it starts in us. It starts with us. Why? Because like we said, time and time again, all throughout this series, oftentimes before God does something great through you, He wants to start by doing something in you. And so leaders, they go first. So good, right? Now listen, there are certain moments in life that define us, moments that shape even the trajectory of our lives. For me personally, one of those moments was actually when I became a follower of Jesus. I was 12 years old, and I remember thinking, man, I want everybody to know God like I feel like I've had the chance to know God. Another moment for me like that was when I was a junior in high school. I won't tell you the whole backstory, but this was my takeaway. I remember thinking, man, God gave everything for me. Why in the world would I not give everything for him? Listen, those moments, they shaped me. Now, for us as a church, we've had some moments like that as well. There was a day when we were one church in one location with one service, and we decided even way back then that church should be for everybody because every person matters. And so that led to multiple services and multiple locations and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of us stacking hands together around this little dream of ours to build a church that we hoped would impact a city. Listen, those moments, those convictions, those commitments, they've shaped us. And I say all that because, man, I think that today, I think the season that we're in, I think the series that we've been in, this is another one of those defining moments. And I'm praying that it will be for you, that it will be for us collectively as a church, that we'll look back on this series and this season as something that shaped us, as something that didn't just shape us for the right now, but like shaped and reshaped the future for us. See, many of us are going to actually commit to go all in and reorder our lives around God's priorities for our life. And that's so exciting to me because I really do believe this is going to be a defining moment for you. And not just for you, but for some of your families, it'll be a defining moment. It's going to be a defining moment for our future as a church and our impact on Philadelphia, I believe, for decades to come. Now, those of us who consider Epic our church, we're going to be able to do something special to get today. We're going to have the opportunity to fill out this card, and together, we're going to commit to giving so that we can advance the mission of our church. Now, if this is your first time at Epic, listen, I want you to know, you picked a great day to be here, and I really mean that. And here's why. It's because you're going to get a front row seat to be able to hear all about the things that make our heart beat fast, like the stuff that we're actually all about. But whenever we get to this card part, I want you to know you shouldn't feel any obligation at all. In fact, you just consider this service a gift to you. I hope you enjoy it. But I do want to say this. I do hope that one day you join in on this thing that we're doing together, because we really do believe that it matters. And we really do believe that it's making a difference in our city. All right, so let's jump into our series. So here we go. In this series, we've been learning from the life of a guy named Abraham. And what I love about his story is that we've been able to see ourselves in it over and over and over again. Abraham was far from perfect. Like he struggled, he messed up all the time, yet he had great faith. And God used this guy to impact the whole world in a pretty significant way. And we're actually going to talk about that today. And so here we go. Genesis chapter 18. Let me give you kind of the backstory and set this up. So this passage starts with Abraham looking up and seeing three mysterious men standing near his tent, and one of whom he recognizes as being God. Now, I don't know how he knew it was God, but one of them was God. We find out later that the other two guys that were there, they're actually angels. Now, they have come to do two things. The first thing they came to do was this. They came to announce to Abraham that his wife Sarah was finally pregnant. Now, they'd been trying to get pregnant for almost 25 years. And by this time, Sarah was about 90 years old. Abraham was almost 100 years old. Listen, by the time this baby gets here, all three of them are going to be in diapers, right? It's true. Now, Sarah overhears God make this announcement to Abraham that she's supposedly pregnant. And whenever she overhears it, the passage actually says that she laughs to herself and she thinks this. She goes, oh, okay. Like in my old age, now I'm going to get pregnant and have a baby. Are you serious? I want you to look what happens next. Verse 13 of Genesis 18. It says, then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. God's like, hey, excuse me. Like, do you realize who I am? I want you to see how Sarah responds. It says, Sarah was afraid, and so she lied, and she said, I did not laugh, but he said, yes, you did laugh. I love the Bible. It's hilarious. You should totally read it. I'm just saying. So here Sarah is. She's 90 years old, and she's still trying to lie to God. Listen, you can't lie to God. He's God. Are you kidding me? But did you notice, did you see what he said in there? It's really powerful. He said this one statement. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Is anything too hard for the Lord? Listen, one of the things I hope you take away from this series is that you know that there is nothing, like absolutely no thing that God can't do. There's nothing that he can't do. And so, surprise, Sarah, you're preggo, 90 years old and all, you are pregnant. Now, the second thing that they came to do wasn't all that fun. They came to actually bring judgment on two notoriously wicked cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, these cities were known for their cruelty. In fact, whenever these two angels go down into the city, they actually try to capture them and rape them. And so the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah for all of those that were abused and oppressed was so great. And the things that they were doing were so outrageous that God decides that he's got to do something about it. And so here we're going to pick up in verse 16. It says this. It says, when the men got up to leave, they looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them on their way. Then the Lord said, should I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation. And key phrase here, all nations on earth will be blessed through him. And so the Lord decides to tell Abraham what is about to happen. Now, it just so happens that Abraham has family in Sodom. His nephew Lot is there. And so naturally, Abraham is beginning to think about what might happen to his nephew. Verse 22, the men turned away and went toward Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham approached him and said, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? You see, Abraham knows that things are bad in Sodom and Gomorrah, but he can't believe that everyone in the city is evil. And so he says to God, he says, hey, are you really going to punish the good with the bad? And he goes on, he makes his case further. He says, what if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all the earth do right? Abraham goes hard here. Abraham's like, listen, what if there's 50 righteous people there? Like, you won't spare the city for their sake? Are you going to kill the righteous with the wicked? Are you serious? That's not even like you. Like, do the right thing here. Verse 26, look at the Lord's response. He says, okay, if I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Now, Abraham did not see that coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever try to negotiate a deal and then you're like kind of in the middle of it and all of a sudden it feels like the other person just agreed too fast? Like they just put their hand out there like, deal. And you know, you shook, but you're kind of like, wait. Like what just happened? Now you're all suspicious. You're like, maybe that wasn't a good thing. That's what happens here. Verse 27, it says, then Abraham spoke up again. Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, though I am nothing but dust and ashes, what if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5 people? Abraham's like, wait. Did I say 50? I meant 45. All right. God responds. He says, if I find 45 there, he said, I will not destroy it. Now Abraham's wheels are spinning. He's thinking, Verse 29. Once again, he spoke to him. What if only 40 are found there? He said. The Lord's response, he says, for the sake of 40, I will not do it. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak. What if only 30 can be found there? God answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Like this is like an auction. He's like 50, can I get a 50? 45, 40, 40, can I get a 40? 35, 30, going once, going twice, sold to the old man who's about to be a dad. It's like, what is this? Verse 31, Abraham said, now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, what if only 20 can be found there? He said, and the God's response, for the sake of 20, I will not destroy it. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak just once more. He's like, listen, I know I'm pushing my luck, but let me try one more time. He says, what if only 10 can be found there? God answered, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. Last verse 33. It says, when the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. The end. End of that chapter. It's like, wait, what? Like, what just happened? Like, Abraham got God down to 10 people. If there were 10 righteous people, then he'd spare the whole city. And then all of a sudden, he just stopped negotiating and went home. Just stopped. What is that about? Listen, there's two questions, I think, that can help us understand and find meaning in this passage. Here's the first one. Why is Abraham asking God to spare the city? Like, what's his real reason? What's his motivation? You might think it's because he's trying to save his nephew Lot. But if that were the case, he should have or could have asked for that directly. He could have been like, hey, God, I know you and Sodom got beef, but my nephew happens to live there. You think maybe you and I could work something out and to get him out of there? And instead, Abraham asked God to spare the entire city. Why would he do that? I mean, Abraham didn't even really like the city. In fact, at one point, Abraham kind of gets sucked into this, having to go to battle and rescue his nephew, Lot, who had been kidnapped in this war that Sodom was all mixed up in. And so Abraham gets his men together. They end up saving Lot and defeating the invading armies. Now, as a thank you, the king of Sodom offers Abraham a reward. And Abraham's like, no, I'm good. I don't need anything from you. In fact, I want to show you how he says it because it made me laugh. Genesis 14, verse 22 says this, but Abram said to the king of Sodom, with raised hand, I have sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you. Not even, get this, a thread or the strap of a sandal. It's like, oh, okay, Abraham, like, tell us how you really feel about this situation. Listen, Abraham was not a fan of Sodom. And so you would think that maybe he'd be okay with a little justice. Instead, he goes to God on behalf of the city and he asks for mercy. Why is that? Here's why I think. I think Abraham remembered the promise that God gave him, that through him, all the nations of the earth would be blessed. He knew that meant even the ones that he didn't like so much. You see, Abraham understood the assignment. Like, he knew that God had chosen him to be a channel through which God's blessing and his mercy would find other people, even if they didn't deserve it. And Abraham was okay with that. And the reason why he was okay with that was because he was okay with them getting mercy, because he understood, he knew that he had been given mercy. Like, he knew that as guilty as Sodom was for all the things that were going on there, he knew that he was just as guilty. Remember a couple weeks ago when we learned about that time that Abraham told his wife Sarah to pretend like she was his sister, and then she ended up getting taken? Twice? It happened twice. Are you kidding me? Listen, Abraham needed God's mercy just as much as anybody else. See, I think what happens whenever you realize that you were guilty, but God in his love for you extended you grace, that whenever you least deserved it, when you didn't expect it, when you couldn't have earned it, God loved you. It's natural for us to want that for other people too. When we experience grace, we want to extend that to other people as well. And so Abraham, he prays for these people because he's experienced God's grace in his own life, and he wants that for them as well. Which brings us to the second question, and that's this. Why does he stop the negotiations at 10? Like, why did he do that? Like, he talks God down from 50 to 10, and then he just stops and walks away. I think it's because he realized that not only were there not 10 righteous people there in Sodom, but there wasn't even one. Not even one. And right here, this story from the Old Testament leaves a question or introduces a question that only the New Testament will answer. Here's the question. Is there not even one righteous person on earth? The answer? No, there's not. Like, not even one. You see, this story is a representation of what God's word says is true for the whole world. Romans 3:10, it says this, there is no one righteous, not even one. Listen, we are Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, we are Sodom and Gomorrah. But instead of giving us what we deserve, God so loved the world. He so loved you. He so loved me. He so loved all of us that he sent his one and only son to do and be for us what not even one of us could do or be for ourselves, to pay our debt and to be our Savior. Listen, Jesus paid a debt he did not owe because we owed a debt we could not pay. And whenever that comes alive in you, like when you really get it, when you realize that through Jesus, you've literally been rescued from destruction. Like when you see that for the first time, it's like the fog is lifted and you can see for the first time. It's like it's wiped away and you can't help but want that for the other people around you. Listen, here's what I want you to see. You and I, we've been placed in a nearly identical situation as Abraham. You see, just like Abraham, we've been placed in a city that we're called to pray and give and sacrifice for, to be a channel, a conduit of God's blessing to the people around us. And just like Abraham, we've been placed in a city that we should be willing to go to battle for, to suit up and go on a rescue mission for. Just like Abraham, we've experienced God's love and his grace, and we should want that for all the other people around us. Just like Abraham, we've been placed in a city full of people who owe a debt they cannot pay. Except now, there's one notable difference. There is one who is righteous. There is one who is blameless. There is one who's without sin, who came to pay the debt he did not owe. His name is Jesus. And we should be willing to do and give anything so that every person in our city can meet and know the one who came to be the hero of their story in the same way that he's been the hero of ours. So you think you're here by accident? You're not. No, you've been strategically placed. God put you in your family. He put you in your neighborhood. He gave you your friends. He put you in that class at that school. He put you in that dorm. He put you on that team. He placed you on that staff, in that job. He brought you to this church so that, just like Abraham, God can use you to be a channel of his blessing to the world around you. So that God could use you to help others make a connection to him. See, Abraham, he knew the assignment. He was strategically placed. And get this, so are we. We're strategically placed. You know, when we started Epic, it wasn't because Philadelphia needed another church. What Philly needed was a different kind of church. The kind of church that wasn't just for church people, but a church that was for everybody, regardless of where they are on their spiritual journey. But now, more than ever, I believe that Philly doesn't just need a different kind of church. What Philly needs is a different kind of Christian. Like the kind of Christian who love God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. Not some, not part, but all. The kind of Christian who keep their eyes on Jesus and refuse to settle for anything less. The kind of Christian who love like Jesus loved, even when it's hard. The kind of Christian who'll strive to live like Jesus lived. The kind of Christian who will say, listen, God, I want you to know that my answer is yes before you even have to ask the question. All that I am, all that I have, it's all for you. I'm totally devoted. God, I'm all in. Listen, that's what we're trying to do over the next 2 years. We want to grow. And it's not about growing a big church. It's about growing big people. Like people of faith, people with big hearts, and people who are committed to making a big impact for God in our city. I think if we want to see God use us to do something great in our city, then we've got to be willing to go all in and live by faith. You know what it means to live by faith? It's not complicated. It's simple and it's central. That living by faith is living your life in light of the fact that God exists and that he will do what he promised he would do. Abraham did that. Remember that promise that we talked about in the very first week of this series that God gave to Abraham? Let's look at it again. Genesis 12, starting verse 1, it says, the Lord said to Abram, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. He says, hey, I want you to leave what you know, and I want you to go. And I'll show you where you're going to go. But I want you to leave what you know first. And then here comes the promise. It says, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. And then it says, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. So Abraham went all in. Like he lived his life in light of the fact that God exists, that there's a creator, that there's a heavenly father, that there's something bigger than us that's out there that has a plan that's better than our plan, and that we should respond to him. So Abraham lived his life in that way in response to the fact that God exists, knowing that God would do what he promised he would do. And so whenever God told Abram to go, he went, right? He went. But did God fulfill his part of that thing? Did he come through on his promise? Let's see. Here we go. Remember the promise? He says, I'll make you into a great nation. Did Abraham become a great nation? Yes. Like that happened. Like he became the father of many nations, in fact, right? He says, I will bless you. Was Abraham blessed? He was the father of many nations. Of course he was blessed. Number 3, I'll make your name great. This is my favorite one. Hey, here's a question. Like how many of you knew Abraham's name before we started talking or teaching through this series? Yeah, almost all of us, I would venture to guess. Now follow me on this. Listen, 4,000 years ago, God tells a guy in the middle of the desert that he's going to make his name great. And now here we are 4,000 years later, and just about every single one of us that are watching right now knew his name before we even got here. Listen, I don't even know like my great-grandparents' names. Like, I don't know their full names, like Pop or something like that. Like I don't know their real names, but I know who Abraham is. I know who Abraham is, and that's because God came through on his promise, and he made Abraham's name great. Wow, that's amazing. And listen, that's just the warm-up act, because here's the last one. It says, and you will be a blessing. It says, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. And so is that true? Well, Matthew goes on to tell us that Jesus was the son of Abraham. Listen, Jesus, he's the greatest gift that was ever given to the world. You kidding me? Yeah, we were all blessed through Abraham. Listen, because Abraham had the faith to leave home and follow God into the unknown, because he trusted God, and he didn't let failure keep him from his future, because he kept God as a priority in his life, and he gave his first and his best, because Abraham was fully surrendered to God, and because he went all in, all the people on the earth have been blessed. And that includes you, and that includes me. Here's my question. Who's going to say that or something like that about you? Who's going to say something like that about me? That because you had the faith to follow, they are sitting here today. That because you trusted and kept God as a priority in your life, because you gave him your first and your best, because you were fully surrendered to him, because you prayed and you gave and you sacrificed and you believed God for impossible things, they're sitting here today. Who's going to say that about you? Who's going to say that about us? Who's going to say that about our church? Anybody? Listen, we have been strategically placed. Which brings us to this card. If you attend a physical location, you may have one of these physical cards, but if you don't, if you just watch online, there's a digital version that's actually online. You can get to the digital version of this card, this commitment card, by clicking on the commitment card link in the Next Steps hub that you got by text if you checked in, or you can just go to epic.church/all-in. Lots of different options, ways to get there. Now listen, this card is an opportunity for us to offer ourselves to God like Abraham did. Now, it's just one part of our life, our giving, but it represents us offering our whole selves to God and his purposes for our life. Now, hopefully you've been praying and you've been thinking, we've been talking about this for a few weeks now in preparation. Hopefully you've been praying about how God might be calling you to grow in the area of giving over the next 2 years. Like how you're going to grow into a more generous person. Now, just as a reminder, our financial goal for this piece of All In is to advance the mission of our church by coming together to give $5.8 million over the next 2 years. Now, that's our base goal. Our stretch goal is $6.8 million. And so here's the question. Can we do that? I don't know. But you know what I think? I think we've got to do that. We've got to do that. And so maybe like you try to start to do the math, you're like, well, what's that going to take? That's going to take 100% of us. It's going to take all of us stacking hands together and having a plan for our giving. To say, you know, I want to honor God in my giving. I want to give X dollars twice a month for the next 24 months. Having a plan. That is a plan. And so I just want to take a second, and I think it might be helpful to just kind of walk through this thing real quick and give you a sense of how it works, all right? So on the top of this, once you open it up, is a little bit of a worksheet, and there's a bunch of different boxes there. And you don't have to fill in all the boxes, just the ones that would be helpful. But I do want you to know what each box is, all right? So the first box here says what I or we would normally give in a year. So this is what you would normally give to Epic in a year. And listen, this is really great. This is a great box because that means that what you would normally do, man, All In, it celebrates, it includes, it values what you're already giving. And so if you're a regular giver, then way to go. Like, you're crushing it. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great place to start. If you're not a giver yet, that's okay. That just means that maybe your step is to make a plan and get started, all right? So that's the first box. The second box represents how God is challenging you to grow in your giving and be more generous over the next 2 years. Like, what would that look like? So you put that right there. Then the next box says you multiply it by 2 because we're doing this over 2 years. And then there's a box below that gives you a total. And there's a really interesting box that might be a little challenging, maybe a little confusing. It says gifts from stored resources. Now, whenever I read that the first time, I was like, I don't have any stored resources. So you got the wrong guy. But then I realized, wait a minute, everyone has stored resources. Like, every single person has stored resources. For some, that might be savings, could be stocks, could be properties, could also be possessions. And so it might be a vehicle. Or for a teenager who wants to honor God, in some way, it might be them honoring God with their iPad. I started thinking about this for me, and I realized, I was like, wait, like, I've got some stuff. Like, I've got some nice things just sitting in a closet, not doing anybody any good. And I was like, man, I could leverage that in a better way. Now, what's cool about thinking through this, about doing that exercise, is because it does answer this question. It answers the question, like, not only am I committing to honor God with what he gives me over the next 2 years, but could I be honoring God better with what he's already given me? And so think about that. Just think about it. Just think about the things, the possessions you have, like those stored assets. And then ask God if he wants you to use any of those things for his kingdom. Just ask the question. Now, he may say, no, not at all. He might say yes. Just be willing to take a step, you know? That's between you and God. Now, that's how that card works. You get a total at the bottom, put your name on it, and in a moment we're gonna turn it in. But I want to say this: some of you are hung up on the word commitment. You're like, commitment card? Oh my gosh, it's a commitment. Oh my gosh, listen, this is not a contract, right? You're like, what if the economy gets worse? Like, have you seen the price of eggs? You know, what if I move and I'm not able to fulfill my commitment for some reason? Listen, this isn't a contract. This is just a commitment that you're making. You're saying, hey, this is what I'm going to shoot for over the next little bit. If I can do it, I'm going to do it. If I can't, that's okay too. But listen, let me challenge you. Listen, you commit to a lot of things. You are committed to a lot of things. You should be committed to God's kingdom first. I should be committed to God's kingdom first. Listen, I'm excited because some of you, you're going to take the step to trust God with your finances for the very first time, with some of your money for the first time in your whole life. That is a huge, huge, huge deal. And I think it's the beginning of a journey that you're not going to regret. Now, others of you, you're actually going to take a step from just giving occasionally to giving intentionally. Like, you're going to get a plan together. Now, others of you, you're going to stop giving out of just excess from time to time, and you're actually going to start giving God your first and your best, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. And then others of you who've been giving God your first and your best for a long time, you're actually going to take a step forward, and you're going to give sacrificially. Now, listen, as leaders, I want you to know that Tiff and I, we're going first. And we've given a percentage of our income back to God over the past 20 plus years. And we've grown that percentage over time as well. And with All In, it's been like a good exercise for us to be thinking about how is it that we can be even more generous than we have been in the past. And listen, you need to know this. We don't give because, if we give, then God's going to give back, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Huh, hallelujah. Like, wrong church, people, all right? You know why we give? We give because we love God. Because God has only ever given his absolute best for us. And so we want to give our best for him. That's why we give. We give because we believe in the mission of this church. We believe in what we're doing together. We believe it's really making a difference in our city. And we want to push this thing forward faster, do all that we can to help advance our mission. Now, I heard this old preacher say this. I thought it was so good. He says, we have but one life. Soon it will be past, and only what is done for Christ will last. Isn't that good? Think about that. We have but one life. Soon it will be past, and only what is done for Christ will last. Again, if you're a guest with us for the first time, I don't want you to feel obligated in any kind of a way. But I do hope that you join in with us at some point. And I hope that today you've been inspired by the heart of the people in this church. Because we really believe this stuff. We don't just talk about it, we be about it. And so here's what I want to ask the rest of you to do. If Epic is your church, I want you to do this. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause this video, and you're actually going to go to the digital commitment card online. And like I said, you can do that a few ways. You can get there by clicking the commitment card link on the hub. You can go to epic.church/allin. Just pause this video and get there in just a second. Then I want you to do a couple things. I want you to take a few minutes, just reflect and pray, and then fill out your card. Fill it out. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to submit the card and then come right back here because I want to be able to pray with you. All right? So let's do this. Go ahead, pause the video now and do those things and come right back. All right, so hopefully you had a chance to do that, to turn in your digital commitment card. If you did, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for allowing God to use you to give towards something that's going to last long after you, right? It's a big deal what we're doing together. And so I'm just grateful that you would stack hands with us around this dream to build a church that would impact a city. Together, we're going to get there. I want to take a second and just pray for you. God, thank you so much just for this church, for the mission that you've given us as a church. God, I thank you for this season that we're in. Lord, I pray that we would be all in. That in every area of our life, not just our giving, but God, in our love for you, in our relationship with other people, in being on a mission for you, God, that we would be all in, that our answer to you really would be yes before you even have to ask the question. And God, as we take steps of faith to follow you, God, I pray that you'd show off and that we'd see your faithfulness on display. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, listen, everybody. I'm really believing God's going to do something really special through this. In just a second, we have the worship team come and lead us through a song called Believe For It. That's because we're believing big things for our city. You might hear that. That might make you chuckle, might make you laugh. You might listen, it's too dark in this city. It's too far gone. Let me just remind you what God said to Sarah. You remember? He said, is anything too hard for the Lord? No, nothing. No thing is too hard for him. This thing isn't too hard for him either. I really believe God has good plans for our city. Together, we're going to be part of it. It's going to be awesome. So let's sing this song in faith. Let's make this song our prayer. Love you guys.
They say this mountain can't be moved. They say these chains will never break. But they don't know you like we do. There is power in your name. We've heard that there is no way through. We've heard that
question that Kent challenged us with is a powerful one. Who's going to say that about you? That because we trusted, because we kept God as our priority and gave him our first and best, because we were fully surrendered, because we prayed and gave and sacrificed and believed God for impossible things, that the trajectory of someone's life, someone's eternity was changed. When I think about like what I want my name to be connected to and what I want my purpose to be, like that's it. Total devotion, full potential, all in. Well, if you are new here, I'm really glad that you made it, and I'd love to be able to send you a free t-shirt just to say thanks for hanging out with us. Also want to invite you to our next welcome party, which is going down in less than a month. So be sure to text in and we'll go ahead and get that right over to you. Well, it's been a great day, and guess what, guys? We are officially just 2 weeks out from Easter, one of the most powerful and meaningful Sundays of the year, a time when we get to pause and remember and celebrate Jesus and what he did for us on the cross. It's going to be good, so we want you to be here, and we want you to start inviting others to join you as well. And then as part of Easter week, we actually have a special online Good Friday experience for you right here on YouTube with a song reflection about the significance of Good Friday, and we'll also be taking communion together. We've really created this as an on-demand experience so that you can participate whenever it works for you throughout the week. So again, it's going down right here on our channel. We'll also be texting and emailing a link out to everyone. So make sure you text in today so we've got your info. We're really praying and believing that this experience will be meaningful and will help you prepare your heart for Easter Sunday. Well, that's it for today, gang. Have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you right back here next week.